People, sinagkasipit and welcome to PICOF.
Si Vaughn Tan.
Hello?
Ang comics niya ay 11:30 to Baguio.
Hello.
Hindi siya taga Baguio.
No, a lot of people think I'm from Baguio.
Kasi yun yung una kong tinanong din.
I'm from Pasay.
Ayan. So let's talk about your comics, Vaughn. Introduce us. What it's about? Ano siya?
My comic book is a cosmic horror story, very inspired by Junji Ito. It's about a guy. They're going to Baguio and, they never make it to Baguio. Something happened. He got abducted by an alien.
Spoiler mo yun?
No, not
Hindi
really.
pa.
No, not yet. That's just how it starts. And then he finds himself, his severed head attached to an alien. And he can control the alien now. And that's all I'm going to say. That's what you can read from the back of the book.
So nabanggit mo na na-influence ka ni Junji Ito.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Junji Ito story? Yung kapatid ko, favorite niya yung Uzumaki.
That's my favorite. That's my
Parehas kayo?
Yeah, because for most Junji Ito stories, the ending is always not satisfying for me sometimes. Uzumaki for me, I think has the best story. Junji Ito story.
Yung talaga the best.
Yeah, I think I just like the concept of the spiral. The fact that he made that scary, from a spiral. Not,
Achievement na yun.
yeah. Everyone's like gory, but how about spiral? So it's very psychological, and I really like that.
Ano na yung pangalan ng babae na character ni Junji Ito?
Tommy?
Tommy.
Yeah.
Paborito din niya yung Tommy.
Hindi ko pa nabasa masyado. Pero I have a copy of it. I read a few pages.
So mahilig ka talaga sa horror ever since?
I think I have to blame my mom for that because she likes horror. It's the only movie she'll watch horror. She doesn't watch anything else. But my interests are pretty diverse in film actually. I like sci-fi. I read a lot of sci-fi as well. But
Hindi ka masyadong matatakitin ng bata. Hindi naman.
I was. I'm in every typical kid, but my mom kept making us watch horror like Chucky, all those
Sobrang
gore
takot na takot
films.
kaya ako dun sa Chucky noon.
Yeah, ako rin. But my mom loves it, and I guess that's how it came to be when I grew up.
Yeah, yung mom ko naman, mahilig siyang magkwento about aswang. So tinatakot din kami ng bata kami. Ganun din ba yung mom or
No, not really.
wala lang watching na lang talaga yung paborito. With that nagustuhan mo na rin dahil
I think, yeah, naturally I just gravitated towards horror. I don't know, I like the idea of trying to, like the challenge, trying to scare people, especially on the medium that's not very good at scaring because there's no jump scares in a comic book, unlike in a movie where even if it's a shitty horror movie, you can still get scared. But
mas gusto ko yung mga psychological.
exactly, yeah. Exactly. But that's the power of the movie, to be able to just have the timing and showing you the video. With the comic book, there's no such thing as a jump scare. There's the page flip that they call it. But I mean, you can do it slowly. You're not gonna get scared.
It's a totally different medium
Yeah.
for storytelling. And
Yeah.
do you have, other than Junji Ito, do you have any other comics creators that you follow?
Local?
Local and foreign?
Local or foreign? I respect Mervin a lot. I think
Irvin Malonzo.
Mervin Malonzo's tabi po. When I started out, his comic book was the one that I bought first, and I thought, oh, this looks interesting. It's very gory as well. I don't see a lot of gory local comic books, so I thought, yeah, that's gonna be interesting. So I picked it up, and then I like the twist of Mervin Malonzo and.
Mga 13 ganun.
Yeah, Trece, I also like Trece, but I haven't finished Trece because there's a few issues. I don't have that much money to buy. But yeah, international, oddly enough, I'm not that big of a comic book nerd.
Pero manga talaga.
Manga mostly.
Aside from Junji Ito, may iba ka pa bang marirecommend na horror manga creator?
Forgot the name, because it's a Japanese name, it's all just jumbled in my head, but PTSD Radio, if you're familiar with that. The art alone on it, I think it's just so scary. The story is so simple, but the art itself is it's a huge inspiration for me actually. PTSD Radio. I would highly recommend that one as well.
Ngayon ko lang ito nakita, so this is newly published book, right?
Yeah, it's debuting
Here
just here on PICOF.
Congratulations.
I know, thank you so much.
How long
It's
did
been
it
a long
take you to create this book?
it took me 2 years to make this book, which is a pretty good timeline for 216 pages.
That's color pa.
Exactly, yeah. But I was only able to do that because I don't have a job. I don't have a day job. But I specifically resigned so that I could pursue this.
Wow, that's dedication.
Yeah, because what ends up happening to me, because I want to tell stories, and I couldn't do that with any day job. Like in a corporate setting, hey, design a robot. I don't want to do a robot for your video game. I want to design my own stuff for my story. So
You don't want to work for others, we want to work for your own
so
IP.
exactly for myself, and that kept eating me up until eventually, after a year, I'd just be depressed. Like, I wanna write this story. I wanna work on this instead. And I'd just be like, the work is now in the way of what I really want to do. So I resigned. I said, I wanna do this. I'm gonna commit. I saved up a lot of money, but I still thank my parents because I preloaded from them. 'Cause, I saved up a good chunk of money, but I don't think it would have lasted 2 years.
Yeah, actually.
Without their help.
Not everyone has the opportunity to resign and create his own.
Exactly. If I had a kid, probably couldn't resign.
So how long did you thought about the story before you started writing it and drawing it? Have you parang naisip mo na ba siya noon pa?
Yeah. So I guess technically it's way more than 2 years. But I had an earlier version of it that was only 89 pages. That was the earlier version. But then I shelved it. I stopped it because I was so intimidated to commit. Because at the time I had a job and I couldn't commit because I barely have any time after my day job. I'm just so tired, and I'm also drawing in my day job, and now I'm sick of drawing. So it took a long time, but once I finally committed, I think it took a whole month to rewrite the whole thing, expand it more to 216 pages. Because really, it's a simple story, but I told it in such an epic, extravagant way. Because I didn't want to cheat the story. I didn't want to speed it up. I didn't want to shorten the pages for the sake of expediency. I want the experience. I want you to be there. I want you to be as immersed as possible.
So is this your first story, or did you publish indie comics before, like short
No,
stories?
not yet.
So this is really the first.
This is my
comic.
technically short story. That was the idea for it. Because I had another comic book idea that was way bigger, 300 pages. So I thought, 300 is a huge thing to commit to. I'm just gonna start out small. So I put out a 217-page comic book.
So what's next after this 11:32 Baguio? Are you still going to do this, or are you going to go back to your day job?
That's what I'm thinking about right now, actually. But thanks to the reception so far from people, and the compliments I'm getting, some have already read it actually, because it doesn't take that much time to read it. It's so visual. There's not much to read. It's an easy, quick read. They came back to me like, "Vaughn, this is so unhinged. This is crazy. I love it." And they got it. They got exactly what I intended to show them, and that inspired me. I thought, maybe I should just continue. Fuck with the day job. I don't want to go back anymore. Because that's my dilemma. If I go back to a day job, I'd be depressed immediately. Like, I know this isn't my full potential. I'm always going to be dreaming of making the next story.
Let's go back, way back. When was your first encounter with comics or manga?
Marvel, actually, DC. Those little comic books, like 20 pages. I just like the drawings. I didn't really get them. I just love the drawings. Yeah, I was very young. But my dad's an artist, so he's the one who really inspired me to become an
Is he a
artist.
comic book artist?
No, he's not. He's an interior designer. So yeah, I know it's weird now that I'm a comic book artist, but there's no huge comic book influence. I know a handful of Marvel and DC comic books, but I wouldn't even consider myself a die-hard comic book fan. What I am is I'm more interested in film. That one I can say, I'm absolutely a cinephile. The medium is quite similar anyway.
So what are the movies that have influenced you creating?
Oh God. That's the worst question because I have so many favorite movies. But
The Shining, mga ganun.
yeah, Stanley Kubrick, The Shining, but Aliens is my favorite because it's sci-fi, it's horror, and I love H.R. Geiger's style. Aliens, yeah, Stanley Kubrick, 2001: Space Odyssey. A lot of Quentin as well.
Quentin
Quentin
Tarantino.
Tarantino. Of course, all more recent stuff like Christopher Nolan and
Do you-
Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah. Are you also familiar with local films, like the classic local films?
Yeah, I actually did. Because I was trying to write another story that had something to do with local movies. So I did my research. I watched a few Efren Bata Reyes movies. I wanted.
Fernando Po, yung kapartner niya.
Yeah, exactly. Mga Agila. And a few rom-coms because we have a lot of rom-coms.
Yeah, we do.
And somehow I found old rom-coms very charismatic. I enjoyed watching them. I don't like the ones right now because they're so oversaturated.
Yeah, nagsasayawan sila sa kalagitnaan.
Yeah, it's so. There's a FPJ movie where they just did a music. You know that scene? Right.
Actually, it's not uncommon for a movie to...
Yeah, like he starts singing "Don't Love." It's like, well, I thought it was just an action movie. Why is it a musical all of a sudden? So I thought it's so funny. I found it charming.
It's sad that they are not doing it anymore because it's very similar to Indian movies and Indian movies. They still do it now.
I can see that. I don't know if that was their intention with that one because it just came out of nowhere. It just started singing.
Whether it's a comedy, it's a love story, there is always a musical, a beach scene.
But in terms of film, my influences are mainly international. I'm sadly not that into local movies yet.
Maybe you should try looking into yung mga Maynila sa mga bukol ng liwanag, yung mga classic. There are a lot of good films. Si Marilo Diaz-Abaya, mga directors. Are you familiar with the names or not?
No, not really. I really want to. I want to commit, like maybe just.
Well, at least you are. If you like those rom-coms, the old rom-coms, I think you'll love the more serious films.
Yeah. Well, this one rom-com was my favorite rom-com. Stars Aga Mulak, and I forgot the other.
Si ano?
It's a foreign movie.
Si Dayanara to.
Yeah. One that movie. I love that movie so much. That movie is so good.
Yeah, those remastered films, they look really nice.
Great, yeah.
Because those films, when I watch those, I'm watching it on those CRT TV.
Oh yeah.
And then
I don't have one
in
anymore.
between the scenes, there's a commercial break, so there's a lot of cuts.
Okay.
So I don't know the full version, I just know the cut version that was shown on the TV. But I still love the story.
And it's 4x3, so it's a pan and scan. They cut the sides.
Yeah.
So you don't get the full
There's a lot
image.
of prop. Okay. Congrats sa book, Vaugn. Ganda ng pagkaka-print. Are you happy with the printing naman?
I'm very happy with the print. I was quite surprised when they gave me the copy because it's so glossy. You know, I wanted it to be like a very international standard comic book. That was my goal for it.
And
But
you have achieved it.
I know I was worried it wasn't gonna be, considering it was local, but I was wrong for having that opinion.
Yeah. Actually, Komiket has some like problem books that tore apart.
Oh yeah, it depends on the spine. So
Yeah.
if you make sure to tell them to do a perfect binding, because some are just they're not sewn in. They're
Sabi
just
nila
glued
nagpalit
in.
na daw sila ng printer kaya mas
Yeah,
open na
because
yung
they're
mga
aware of
sumunod.
that problem. They specifically told me that we have to do this one in a better binding so that that doesn't happen.
So, paano ka natutong mag-comics? How did you learn to create comics? Because it's not that easy, to
it's
create your own comics, especially if you're going to write it and draw it.
Yeah, I started out I read just a few comic books just to get a feel of how they're doing it, what sort of innovation have they done to elevate the medium, and I just took those and I started making my own roughs. Making my own roughs.
So-
That was a really long time
So
ago.
you didn't have any formal training
No,
doing
I didn't.
comics? So, this book is trial and error?
Yeah, that's about it.
So who
self-studied comic
oversaw
book.
the production of the comics?
Me.
Just you?
Just me. It's all me, the writing, the drawing, it's all me. Well, except for the publishing, that's Komiket.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to read the book and see
I hope you like it.
the story and
experience the thrill
Yeah.
of going to Baguio.
Well, you never actually go to Baguio there. You never make it to Baguio.
Oh, no.
'Cause, that's something happened.
Yeah, let's see. Let's find out. And what's your advice to aspiring comics creators?
So, a huge problem locally. It's a very important conversation actually. For aspiring comic book artists, a lot of the comic books here are done on the side. So they're only able to commit like a few hours of their day to it. Even Budget Tan's 13 was
Yeah.
only done like during their lunch break or something like that. But that was impressive that they were able to do so many issues actually. And I can understand that approach because I mean, I doubt anyone would do what I did where they resign and just commit to comic
It's a leap
books.
of faith.
Exactly, it's a huge leap of faith, very risky, but well, I'm not gonna blame you if you do that on the side, but the problem with that I really hate is, yeah, you don't get to do a comic book like this that's finished, 200 pages, that looks great, and you're just distracted. You can't commit to something with a day job. It's like what we talked about a while ago.
Yeah.
So you can do that. I definitely suggest that you do. Just take short issues, but if you do decide to commit, if you do decide to resign like what I did, maybe hopefully I've inspired you to do so. But it is risky. Save up a lot of money.
Yeah.
But once you do, and you start writing your comic book, and you start the drawing part, this writing part, yeah, that's also going to be a huge back and forth process with writing. But the biggest hurdle for me was when I was actually drawing it. Because the first time I tried to draw this, it took me 3 days to finish one page.
Wow, 3
And
days.
that's not realistic. If it takes 3 days for each page, it's gonna take me so much years to finish this comic book. But you just have to keep going. Because
Yeah.
at some point, because you're still at the figuring out stage. Like you're figuring out the style. You have so many problems that you have to figure out. That's what's taking time.
Yeah.
All those 3 days, 2 days of those is just you trying out, trial and error. I'd hate it, erase it, do it again, erase it. After a while, after like 50 pages,
Yeah,
I thought I'd get used to it like as soon as 20 pages, but it took me like 50 to 80 pages before I got used to it. Before I was able to bring it down to 1 page a day.
Okay. So that's your fastest.
That's my fastest for this one. It's so detailed.
Yeah. Are you drawing digitally?
Digitally, yeah. Because traditional is very hard. If you make a mistake, you can't control Z.
Yeah, you
So
can.
I thought it was the safest way to do it digitally. And that would be my advice if you're still in that figuring out stage where it's this is taking so long. I don't think this is feasible.
Yeah.
And that's often when they quit.
Yes.
That's when they stop.
Uh-huh.
But no, still in the figuring out stage. You're gonna get used to. You're gonna find the style, and that's when you speed up. That's my biggest advice. That was my biggest problem. And very solitary job as well if it's just you. Hopefully you're working with someone as well. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Some artists hire assistants. I assume
Yeah.
you don't have yet.
No, manga, all these big giants like Takehiko Inoue with Vagabond, they got a bunch of assistants. Like in Vagabond, if you read it, there's like a section with just grass.
Yeah.
And they could easily have just used a pattern for the grass, but I don't think they did. Some poor assistant had to draw every blade of grass, and I thought, on one hand, it's impressive. On the other hand, it's kind of stupid. Who's gonna look at the grass? But I guess the fact that I'm even talking about the
Yeah.
grass right now is the effect of that. So
It's really
Yeah.
impressive, and if you do hard work, people will notice.
yeah, that's what I've been getting so far. Like they'll pass by, they don't know the story yet, but they'll just flip the book. Like, oh my God, it looks so good. And then that's when they ask, what's the story about? Oh, well, it's cosmic horror. And like, oh, even better. So the look of the comic book, just the cover, is already a huge, quick draw.
Yeah. If cover is really important,
Yeah.
and then they'll flip the book and they get even more
Yeah, exactly.
inspired.
Yeah, because I think someone said it. It's the writer of Spawn. I forgot his name.
Todd McFarlane.
Todd McFarlane. He said, I can sell comic books that are drawn better. I can sell those more than comic books that are drawn like shit, but do have a good story. I can sell better looking images because people will just look at it like, oh, it looks good. Maybe the story's good, but then they buy it and it's like, oh, it wasn't that good. But
They already bought the book.
yeah, well, can't give it back. So the art is a huge draw. But I don't want you to take that and be like, okay, well, I guess I don't have to put that much effort on the story anymore.
Story is also important. Very
Incredibly
important.
Yeah. It's a 50-50 thing.
Yeah. People will look for you the next event if they like the first
Exactly.
story.
If you read it, this is crap. I'm not gonna buy it from you anymore. I don't trust you anymore. So you need to gain that trust.
Okay. So, final question, where can we follow you and where can we get the book?
Well, Vaughn Comics. You can follow me on Facebook and on Instagram, the same name, Vaughn Comics. Follow Komiket. That's my publisher. They'll handle all the sales. You can buy it on Shopee as well, actually.
Yeah.
So, and I'll be on Komiket events. I can sign the books for you. We can talk a bit about comics if you're interested. And yeah, that's hopefully at some point it'll be on bookshelves, like fully booked.
Yeah. Well,
That's my biggest goal.
yeah. Komiket is printing a lot of these books,
Yeah, I
so
know.
I'm guessing they'll also put it on fully
I
booked.
hope so.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Komiks People. Thank you, Vaughn.
Thank you so
and
much.
See you next time.
Indie Comics Podcast.